Hey everybody, Psychosaurus is here. Welcome back to Age of Empires Online. And today we're gonna continue with something I did last year and it kinda stopped. Yeah, can't believe it's been so long. But yeah, let's continue. Advisor sets. This time Persian safe. And I am not really a huge fan of Persians, so if you're playing Persians, you like Persians, you might know better about these loadouts than I do, but okay, I did try playing Persians recently, so I got a little bit of an idea how to play them, but still don't like them, okay? But yeah, there are a few interesting advisor sets that I think you might find useful. And with the recent advisor changes, well, it's gonna be fun to watch. But yeah, let's start. First sets, we're gonna talk about probably the most used Persian unit, which would be the Immortals. So, in this, there's gonna be a lot of different advisor loadouts you can use. Just damn, those Immortals, so many options you have. It's insane. So, first of all, for H1, it's definitely whatever you like. You like Philon, you like Irene, you have some fishing spots there. You want wood, I don't know, more gold, more food, cheaper storehouses, whatever you like, it's your choice. H1 is pretty much independent. It's all up to you. What do you prefer on the quest? Now H2, there's gonna be a lot of interesting options. I have here Muikmeron, which currently I would say is pretty good advisor with 20% discount on all units and upgrades, which is worth mentioning because first of all, Immortals cost a lot of gold. I think the base gold cost is like 50. Yes, it is. If we include that you can use the toggle tech, that price can go higher, but you don't really have to use the toggle tech that much if you have just the critical mass and have enough of the immortal camps. Shouldn't be that huge issue spamming them afterwards, but definitely you wanna lower the gold cost of them, or rather I should say you wanna improve the gold income, because what I found out, and I believe a lot of players like to do, since it's really strong, it's the caravan meta, and this is one of the things I kind of dislike about the Persians, because Immortals are seriously using this. Why? Because with gold you can purchase both food and wood, and yeah, so basically you just focus on the gold. And so you can pay the Immortals gold price easily, and then you just buy the food, wood, whenever you need. Oh yes, so why Mukmana? Okay, first of all, the discount there, which helps a little bit saving you the gold, which you can then use on buying wood and food. That helps a lot, but most important is the gold cost of the upgrades being reduced. Why? Because first of all, their champion upgrade is quite expensive, 1200 gold. So once you reach that golden age, you seriously want to get that upgrade as soon as possible, because -1 pop cost on that unit. Man, imagine double the army size of Immortals. That's just a lot of units. So 20% discount there is really good. Number two, you want to get all the armor attacks. Why? Because all of them affect Immortals, so armor attacks there as well. And if you have the legendary advisor Esfandiar, that's another upgrade where you can save a lot of gold. In fact, one of the upgrades costs 3000 gold, so that means 600 gold going down. That's a huge. So in my opinion, Muikmeron H2 is really good advisor option for you using Immortals. Really good option. What else we could choose, and let's just pay attention here. Obviously there are a lot of interesting options, but what I would suggest, Doom Nordics is an option. but I wouldn't say necessarily the best right now. But if you want to spam the caravans really fast, it is an option. Heraclitus is also pretty good with the 15% discount being back. It's really nice, plus the train time. Immortals don't have the barracks upgrades applied to them, so they do not get the faster training times. So getting another train time improvement can be really nice, so Heraclitus can be a good option. Kleitos is very worth mentioning because, like I said, you want to get all the armory techs because they are all of them apply to immortals, so making them 50% cheaper, that's a good idea to make. Okay, that works really nicely. Another advisor I want to mention is Zeno, and this one I want to mention in combination with H3 advisor Tahminech. Where are you? Over here. Let me select that. So basically what I like to do is like put these two advisors together, and if you already are reaching like the maximum gold income without Zeno and you start using Zeno with Tahminech, that automatically means 30% more gold income for you. Why? Because hey, more gold from the trade, and then your caravans carry more gold, so that limit improves, so you don't have to change the distance, you just get the 30% more gold thanks to these two advisors. And Tahminech has the nice effect that was added to her, which makes free coinage and price adjusting. This again supports the caravan meta and goes really well with what I said before, buying wood and food for your immortals. Nice thing here is that it's already Silver Age, so you just build a market. If you're already in Silver Age, you just can buy wood and food as you need. And so you can just use the gold you already have to buy it and just produce caravans. And maybe you could even just put your villagers on gold mining and just use it there as well. Just gold mine, buy the resources you need. There you have it. So this is why I find this combination really strong. Obviously it's really good if you have the H3 starts, because then hey, you just build the market, you can start buying the resources you need, or even selling as you need, depends. But yeah, this is quite a strong combo in my opinion. I'm not saying it's necessarily the best, but it's definitely worth mentioning as I found it pretty good in some quests. And what else could be used? Thought is okay, but it's rather about the villager production and caravan production maybe, but I wouldn't say Thought is the best option here. I guess that's all. You could probably use even Andrasta to make the immortals faster if you want the health regen, but I just feel like hey, gold income is more than anything, and Kleitos or just the discounts on your immortals are really good here in the H2. Now for H3, let's take a look. I've already mentioned Tahminech, which can work quite nicely. You could consider Onesiphorus if you really need the Golden Age. Obviously, Pamphilos is very good if you are using mainly immortals and they will be destroying the buildings. Pamphilos is really good there. But if you just want to make them faster, Persian is there as well. I wouldn't say you necessarily need him that much. I would say Pamphilos is a better option here, but it can work. If you're not using only immortals, you can also consider something like siege with them, whether it's war wagons or palintrons, so Ligeia can work just nicely as well, although not as necessary, so I would still suggest buffing the immortals. But then let's see what's there. I don't think Viriatos is not really that necessary. Yes, Rogham would make a lot more sense to be put together with the siege because hey, faster trained immortals, plus they will be better as the meat shield for your siege with the extra health here. So Rohan would make more sense. It's generally a really strong H3 advisor for immortals. You want to train them faster, you want to make them last longer, definitely good choice. And that's what I would say for H3 is there. For H4, obviously if you have Esfandiar with immortals, that's your #1 option. My only issue with Esfandiar is that he is not active the moment you reach the golden age, but you need to pay the 3000 gold for the tech to actually get the use of him. So it's quite a delay before you actually get the value from Esfandiar. But if you get the tech, it's just really strong advisor. But for the alternatives we have here, you can use Bahram, which can be an interesting option. Again, lower train time, but also faster movement speed. The issue here, similar to Esfandiar, but in this case you have to build a wonder. And I mean 3000 gold versus 3000 resources for a building that you need to build for 10 minutes of villager time. Obviously, the more villagers, the faster it can be built. And the tools help as well, but yeah, again, it's quite similar to Esfandiar. So if you have Esfandiar, Esfandiar is better, but Bahram might be easier to get than Esfandiar since it's epic advisor only. Obviously, Theocles is also really good since he affects infantry, and 15% extra health can be quite nice. Kaveh is also very interesting because immortals have 2 damage types, the pierce damage for their ranged attacks and then melee infantry damage for their melee attacks. So depending what you're fighting, this can help a lot, either with this damage type or with this damage type. So for example, if you are using the ranged attack against, let's say, shield bearers, the 10% ignore armor there is gonna be really notable. If you're fighting, let's say, legionaries, then for the melee attack it's gonna be quite notable. But still, I just mentioned those 2 units because of immortals having those 2 damage types at the same time. It's just, hey, you just need to move, position them. Hey, shield bearers, you're just gonna kill with the melee attacks anyway, and the legionaries are just vulnerable to the ranged attacks, so you don't really need Kaveh that much. Against buildings, it's not gonna do anything because immortals use melee attacks only, so you're not really gonna utilize Kaveh that much on immortals. So it's worth mentioning, but if I had to say, Theocles is the better option here, or Bahram, definitely Esfandiar is better option. And let's check, am I missing something? Agamemnon, I would say, is the better option than Kaveh. Generally good, 5% more damage and health, that can be nice. Boudica can be an interesting option as well because hey, you're generating the food and wood passively, so you might not need to buy it that often. Although with the gold income you can get, you don't really need Boudica that much. So it's okay, but again, not really that necessary. And alternatives would be Timo or Xerxes the Great if you decide to put immortals together with some siege backline, whether it's Palintoron so you can destroy the buildings from distance easily. Timo can be a really good option here. If you decide to use war wagons, Xerxes can be good, but if you do war wagons, you might even consider Blacksmith Kaveh because their pierce damage against buildings can do a lot of damage, okay? But yeah, if you don't have success, that's obviously the choice. If you wanna use the war wagons. Okay, let me put this back here a little bit. Okay, this can stay. Let's move on to the next. Those were the immortals. Again, you can leave in the comments if you feel like there's some better. Obviously, we could put like discount on markets through nanos and just train a lot of caravans thanks to nanos. That can work as well, but okay. I just feel like these advisors are just better, in my opinion, than just boring build a lot of markets in caravans. But let's move on. This loadout, I want to talk about cavalry units, and for Persians we have two options, and that's Asabaras and Cataphracts. So for H1, it's just like the Immortals, whichever you like, that's your choice. For H2, this can be interesting. Let's start with the Cataphracts, because they H4, I like Cataphracts, and they might not be as clean, but again, we can use Muikmenon. Why Muikmenon? Cataphracts cost a lot of gold, 150 base cost, that's a lot of gold, so that discount here can be quite nice. The champion upgrade is also very expensive, 1200 gold, so again, nice thing. It's definitely not gonna be as effective as with the Immortals, because Immortals also need the one more armor attack. Here it's not the case, but if you decide to like support your Cataphracts with mounted archers to counter enemy cavalry units that counter your Cataphracts, Muikmenon can help with that, because now you suddenly want to get the 4th armor attack as well. So that can work too. Alternatively, Hermolaos obviously works really nicely with the discount. This affecting also the food cost, which is 100 food, so 250 resources in total. That's a lot for one unit. So Hermolaos can be quite nice. Also reducing the train time. The train time is quite high. Let's check it really fast. 25 seconds base. That's actually a really huge value. Okay, so definitely helps to have some lower training time. If we move on, I don't have him here, but Narmer for HP regen in some situations, some specific quests can be okay, but again, I don't really recommend HP regen that much. But yeah, typical economy stuff, Britomatus, Combutes, Numnorix, again with the caravans, nanos, or whatever. Kleitos is okay, but like I said, unless you're not... If you're gonna mix the mounted archers with the Cataphracts, then yes, it's okay to use Kleitos. Xeno can be nice. Again, you could put it together with Tahminek and just be able to trade or use caravans to generate a lot of gold, while also being able to buy the resources necessary as soon as possible as you need. That can be fine as well here. Okay, farms again, economy, not really something you need. Thought can be okay with a little bit more focus on the villagers. That can be nice. Or Andrasta with the movement speed, but like I said, I would say Muikmenon and Hermolaos are the best options here. But if you want to experiment with the others, you have choices. Let's move on to H3. If we take a look, Hathor with the recent changes. I don't think you necessarily want Hathor with Cataphracts, because honestly, you already counter siege really well with Cataphracts, so they don't really need the extra damage against siege. Plus, they are cavalry units, so the crush armor is not really necessary. Against ranged units, I mean, you don't really need bonus damage against ranged units that often, since most of them are just squishy enough. Pierce armor can be nice, but Cataphracts get their pierce armor from the champion upgrade, so you don't need it, but it's nice to have the extra pierce armor. If I had to say, Hathor is okay to use in Elite Meat in Creed, because there will be a lot of siege. The sooner you destroy it, the better. And then some ranged unit waves, this can be quite nice. And since they got buff in the infantry armor, you don't really need Lohrasp that much. So yeah, Hathor is suddenly looking better there, in my opinion. Obviously, Casavillaunos is also really good choice here for the movement speed. Cataphracts have low movement speed. I think it's still 8. Yes, 8 base movement speed. Which for a cavalry unit, that's actually slower than it looks. Okay, so having some extra movement speed is nice. Honestly, for us, for faster golden age, that can be nice. If you for some reason need more infantry armor, Lohrasp is there. But with the buff recently they don't really need Lohrasp that much. Again, Tahmineh, if you decide to go with like Xeno, we wanna do some caravan meta with a lot of trading resources. Yeah, I guess that's all from the H3 or H4. Now again we can use Bahram, and in this case both the movement speed and train time are quite nice. Remember, they have 25 seconds base train time, so even with Hermalos it's gonna be over 20 seconds. So another 20% down is really nice here. Plus the movement speed, like I said, base movement speed only 8, having the 20% extra is really nice. So definitely Bahram can be used. Kaveh can be used, but I wouldn't say you necessarily need him. And in case of cavalry units, the only units that really have cavalry armor are spearmen, which Cataphracts already counter really well with the bonus against infantry, with the high infantry armor right now. So countering infantry is not really necessary, and the other units would be anti-cavalry cavalry units such as the Norse horsemen or Gallic horsemen. So against them you could use this, but then I'm gonna ask you, why not just mix in few mounted archers? You don't really need that many of those, just like 4 to 6 units, maybe 8, and they can like easily deal with the anti-cavalry cavalry units. So Kaveh is like, eh. You can use them, but I wouldn't say you really want to. Garzhasp, Grandmaster Garzhasp, this is your Cataphract number 1 choice. Higher damage, 20%, plus lower cost, 10%. Like I said, 250 units of resources base cost, so 10% going down is really nice. So Garzhasp is definitely a great choice when you're going with Cataphracts. Agamemnon, I mean, in general, really okay advisor, so you can use him as well if you don't have anything better. Boudica again with the economy, and I mean, if you decide to go with Siege, you could use Timo again or Xerxes for war wagons if you want to. Not really that much, but it can be used. Now, those were Cataphracts, but then we have Asabaras. Let me switch this a little bit. But for Asabaras, it's pretty much gonna be the same. So H1, whatever you like. H2, it's gonna be again Hermolaos. Economy stuff, if you like to. Muikmenon is okay, but I wouldn't say you necessarily want Muikmenon here that much. Asabaras are not that gold intense. Kleitos can be used, but here I would rather suggest then Muikmenon or even Xeno with plus Tahmineh. I would just go with Thought for the food discount, since Asabaras cost quite a lot of food. 70 food, that's pretty huge for H2, and 50 gold is not the biggest gold cost I could think of. So I would say Thought is better option. But again, Hermolaos, really good advisor here. Or if you want movement speed, Andrasta, but I would say Thought or Hermolaos here are better. Now for H3, Hathor again. it's I mean, Asabaras already counter ranged units. They have their base pierce armor. They're fast, so you don't really have to worry about the ranged units that much. Siege, same thing because of the high speed. You counter them really well. They are cavalry units, so they have their typical .50 crush armor. So not really that I would suggest Hathor. But if you decide to go like a limit in Crete, even then I would say Hathor can be used, but I wouldn't say it's the best option. Castellanos is nice again for the fast movement speed. Only suffers for fast golden age if you want to. But I would say if you see a lot of enemy infantry units, Asabaras are not that strong as cataphracts against infantry, so Lohrasp here is definitely a good option if you have food problems. I mean, I don't really feel like you want Sophia here, but rather just go with Lohrasp and make them more survivable. But if infantry is not the problem, then I guess Sophia can be okay to be used if you need to replace them that often and you don't want to have too many villagers on foot. Okay, Tahminech, again, if you just go with a huge gold income, it's an option. And yeah, I guess that's all for H3. Now for H4, you can again go with Bahram. Just remember, you need the Wanderer, which takes a while, but with the high movement speed, they can be quite fast. Asabara is quite fast, to be honest. So this can work quite nicely, but again, it's gonna take a while. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best. Kavek, just like with Cataphracts, not really. And obviously Gas doesn't work here. Agamemnon if you don't have anything better. Ulika for economy. But yeah, you definitely want Rostam because Azabaras will get here 20% more health and damage. So really good stats, better than what Agamemnon offers. And if you decide to mix in some mounted archers here, you have some bonus for them as well. So Rostam is definitely the choice here that you want to do 100%. But if you decide to mix in some siege like Polytonos again, but it's not that typical going cavalry units. Okay, let's go H3, and this is gonna be like using some frontline, which most typically what I would do would be Sparabaras, but I guess you could also consider Immortals, but then you're sacrificing some of your backline powers, so this is gonna be more focused on the ranged units, that's what I should say. Whether you use some frontline, which most likely is Sparabara, or you just go with pure ranged death ball, that's up to you. Now, what we can do, H1, again, it's up to you, but here I would say Tutmos makes most sense for the wood income, because you're gonna need a lot of wood. And you just build a market, bam, you have gold, so no problem here. Obvious option is Guyana, that you want that maximum range, because you will need a lot of ranged units to actually make them useful to some degree. But yeah, since we got also the changes for Takabara, you might even consider Timon for Takabaras, because Takabaras can reach like 50 range. I'm not joking, they can actually reach that, which is a huge number. You might be willing to sacrifice Guyana to lose that range and just make them cheaper and faster to produce. This might be one of the few situations where I would say Timon can be better than Guyana, but it obviously depends. If you need to reach the critical mass as soon as possible, Timon here can be really good choice. But yeah, if you just want to go that maximum range with Takabaras, Guyana is still the option. Everything else is just making your ranged units weaker, so I would rather suggest avoiding that. Also, alternative to Tutmos, you can use also agathon, or in some cases apep, so you actually save or earn extra food for your villager production. So you make sure you produce those villagers, you have enough food for them, and then caravan, so you have enough food for those. This is also an option if you just want the maximum wood. Okay, if you have access to fishing boats, then Tutmos can be better. Just build the docks, get the fishing boats out, and food income shouldn't be a problem. Okay, H2, I think we are done there. For H3, we have either Cosmos or Sohrab, most likely Sohrab for the faster building destruction. I don't think there is anything else needed to be said, but if you want to protect your ranged units better, so the enemy units are not getting close enough, then Cosmos can be also a pretty good option. It's rather more defensive, so you don't lose that many ranged units to some random melee unit. It is an option. And I don't know, I think that's all for the ranged units. Again, you just want to maximize the damage output here, so I don't think there is anything else. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. So for H4, I mean, Bahram is there, but you don't really need him unless you want those ranged units moving really fast for some reason. What you really want to use is Kaveh. Why? Because first of all, it can work against enemy units, especially if they are getting the armor attacks or they are using something with very high pierce armor, such as shield bearers. So getting the ignore armor there is quite nice, but most important against buildings, because this 10% is actually 40% against buildings. 40% extra damage against buildings. Can you imagine? Like 40% here, 50% here, and that's suddenly, ooh. If you have piercing frost arrows for your bowman, yes, that can work nicely together. Even more damage here. And since Takabaras have been removed from Rostam effects, Kaveh with Takabaras is also the #1 choice here. So definitely you wanna go with Kaveh for your ranged units. Okay, if you don't have Kaveh, Agamemnon is always there for you to take, which can also work if you're going with frontlines, Parabaras. So that's a nice thing here as well. Or Boudica if you just want the resources. If you wanna support your ranged units with some siege, then again, Timo with Palintorons is there. I wouldn't say Xerxes or War Wagons because you already do more than enough PS damage with your Bowman or Takabaras. But rather the building demolition is important. So that can be an alternative. Like I said, you can use some meat shield as a front line. In my opinion, the best unit to use are Sparabaras. In this case, you don't really need any specific advisor for them to use them together with the range, or not range, but backline, because they already get really good stats on their own with the amount of armor they can get, plus having like almost 1000 health or around that value. They do a really good job at tanking, and they are also quite cheap, like 40 food and 5 gold base cost. That's very low, so they are cheap to replace. The only issue with them is if you get the War Academy tech for extra health and crush armor, they will be slower, so slower replacement due to the lower movement speed. That's the issue there. But yeah, those were the ranged units. If you want, you don't have to use ranged units, but what you can do is actually use the war wagons as an alternative. This is also an option. And if you're gonna use the Parabaras as a meat shield, most likely, alternatively you can use Immortals, depending. Then you can inspire again with the Immortal build, that was the first set. But here we're gonna use Sparabaras, so for Sparabaras I would suggest not really Heraclitus, you don't need him. You don't really need the gold income here that much, but it's nice to have some so you can get the war wagons out as soon as possible. But war wagons are not that gold intense. I think they're just 100 gold, yes. So they are not like super gold intense, you don't really need the gold income. If we are talking about armor attacks, you don't really need the melee infantry damage for your Sparabaras. They are mainly there for the meat shield, so just the armor attacks should be good enough. But if we are talking what to put together, what to put here, I would say Thought is #1 option, because obviously most of the cost of Sparabara is food, so food here is very nice. Or you can go with Andrasta and make them faster so they are not that slow, plus works nicely with the war wagons as well. So I would say Thought or Andrasta here, but obviously you can go Kratos if you want all the armor attacks. For the H3, what can we do? Well, pretty much whatever here is an option, but if I had to say Civilianos, so you can just make them move faster and you're not so punished by the War Academy tech, so Civilianos is an option here. Honestly, for also you can get the war wagons out as soon as possible. Pamphilos, not with Sparabaras, but he can be used. I would say Ligeia makes more sense here, so you can get those war wagons out as soon as possible, plus they will be faster, so you can micro them a little bit better. That is an option. Sofia is okay here if you want the food income for the Sparabaras, say few villagers. That can work. If you're using Immortals as a frontline, obviously we can go with Immortals here, but not really worried about that. If you want to mix in some battering rams though, we can go with Titus, or again with Ligeia. But Titus for like the rams lasting longer, but I would say if we are already going with war wagons, Ligeia makes more sense here. And for Golden Age, obviously we can pick Bahram, which again would go really well with both Sparabaras and battering rams. Sparabaras obviously faster training, so they get out faster, plus the movement speed helps them, so you can replace them faster. So that is an option, plus your siege moving faster is really nice. But again, like I said, the battering rams, obviously the faster they reach the building, the sooner they can start doing some damage. And it can be nice, since they are cheaper now. Hey, oh yeah, I need to do some more battering rams. That's what I need to do. But yeah, Bahram can be a good option here. Diocles, if you want your Sparabaras lasting longer, that is an option. Kaveh is an option, although I would say it's mainly against buildings, if you just want to destroy buildings, but you don't really want Kaveh. Instead, what you want is Xerxes, because obviously 25%. Oh wait, no, that's movement speed. You 20% more damage. It's half the value against buildings, but this damage is working against everything, so it's not dependent on the armor level of the enemy units, which is nice. Plus you're getting the attack range, line of sight, and movement speed, so they are gonna be faster anyway. So I would say Xerxes is better option, but if you don't have Xerxes, Kaveh can be good option as well. If we move on, Agamemnon is there as well, with the damage for the war wagons and health for the Sparabaras, Burica for the economy, and I think that's all, unless you want to mix in some Valentons as well for the long distance destruction. So yeah, I think that's all for the advisor sets for the land units. One more would be the Navy, but that's pretty much the same stuff all over again. H1, most likely what you want is Tutmos for the wood, all the wood you need, so Tutmos is best option for naval battles. Naval quest. Seafarer Horrors, again extra health plus the train time reduction. The best H2 for Navy. But if we want some alternatives just in case, let's check it real fast. Since it's water, most likely there are gonna be fishing spots, so you could go with Finbar as well, so you don't have to worry about the food that much and just keep producing villages on the wood. That is an option as well for H1. But for H2, again, let's take here. Okay, you can go with caravans, that is an option. Munkmenon for the cheaper upgrades and units. Not really needed Kratos, because what you really need is just the pierce armor, but if you're using the arrow ships, then pierce damage as well, which only 2 attacks, so not really that useful. Xeno is there. Okay, Horus, obviously the best choice for Navy, but you could use Andrasta if you want to make them move faster. If you're defending with towers, Punch can be also okay, but Horus is number 1. For H3, again, if you want fast Golden Age, honestly for us is there. But most likely it's gonna be either Pitas, Battleship Whip, or Amon. Pitas, hey, make them all cheaper, plus they move faster, which can be nice with the ram ships currently, because ram ships have one big issue, and that is their very low movement speed in my opinion. Plus making them cheaper can be nice. What I like to do though with ram ships better is just to make them last longer with the extra health. But yeah, with Pitas buff, the most recent one, this I would say might be better option with the ram ships currently. Plus you can also use it with your fishing boats, so less worry about the food income if you are using the long distance fishing. And if you're using your merchant transports for the gold trade, then this is also really good advisor, because the movement speed should be affecting the merchant transports as well, and 20%, that's a huge deal. Okay, but yeah, battleship Whip or Pitas when going with ram ships. If we are going the galleys or mangonel galleys, if you want the long range, then Amon is your option here. If you're going ram ships plus galleys, so you can bombard the enemy base from the sea and you need the range, yes, Amon can be good there as well. But I think for H3 that's all. For H4, most typically what you would use is Typhon, because obviously all ships doing more damage. That's the obvious choice here. But again, what you can do is Burikai for the economy and Agamemnon if you don't have anything better. You could also go with Kavek if you're, let's say, focusing more on the galleys. You don't really wanna go with the ram ships nor the mangonel galleys, then Kavek can be a really good option as well. And if the enemy units get enough armor attacks, it can be even better than Typhon, because against buildings it's obviously gonna be better to use Kavek. Against Navy, they need like 66% damage reduction from Pierce, and suddenly the galleys are better with Kavek than Typhon, so Kavek can be also a good option here. An interesting choice with ram ships that you can do, what I like when I tried it, was Bahram, because again the movement speed for your ram ships is a really nice choice here. Plus the training time, so if you're losing them, yes, and this is why I like Battleship a little bit more, so they last longer, and if they die, hey, I replace them faster and they get there faster. So that's what I like to do. And I think that's all I have about the Persian advisor sets. So tell me, what do you think about these sets? Do you like these recommendations? Have you tried them before? And if you haven't tried them, have you tried them afterwards? Did you like it? That's what I'm gonna ask you. Leave a comment. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I want to finish these advisor sets. I want to do something special about the advisors then afterwards. So next time we're going with the Romans, because why not? And yeah, this was Psychosaurus. I'll see you next time. Bye!